Do you believe in God? That question was asked by a Sunday school teacher to her young group of students. Do you believe in God? And every hand shot up. I do, I believe in God. And then she said, why do you believe in God? And every hand went down. And then one little timid hand went up. The teacher said, yes, why do you believe in God? And they said, well, I believe it runs in my family. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said, the starting point in spiritual realization is a right understanding of the one designated as the Almighty. You see, this idea of one power and one presence is not at all unique to Unity. The concept of one God, as was simply illustrated in the reading this morning between Giselle and David, the many readings, I pulled from numerous different faith traditions, all of them pointing to one. The idea of one God, the monotheistic belief, is very widespread. But what is even perhaps more exciting is when science begins to point to that same idea. Max Planck, who's considered the father of quantum theory, said to a group of scientists, now a leader in this field in Italy stood before a group of his peers from all over the world, and he said, as a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, the study of matter, I can tell you this much, there is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of the universe, the one. And you see, it's pretty easy, I think, for us to really get a concept of God in the universe, right? God as the universe. All you have to do really is look outside and see what holds our magnificent world in place. That's pretty easy to understand, God in the universe. But when it comes down to God in our life, that's when it gets a little sticky sometimes, yes? Because if there's one power and one presence, if all there is God, and all that is God essence or God stuff, so to speak, then that means you can't have anything independent or outside of what we would know as God, the all that is. And that's kind of a lot to wrap your head around in everyday life and understanding, what does that mean to me? How do I show up? This series for this week and the next 4 weeks, we are going to explore this with our just basic fundamentals which Unity offers. And today we begin with the concept of one power and one presence. And what does that mean in our life? Jim, could you show us this like? Who does that look like? Jesus. Yeah. If you've seen the picture of the lasting Jesus, it kind of looks a lot like Jesus. Well, Matt Hasselbeck, who joined the Seahawks recently, was at this man's house, and his oldest, Charlie Whitehurst joined. This is Charlie Whitehurst. You can tell I'm really up on football. But anyway, this is Charlie Whitehurst, who looks a whole lot like Jesus. Well, when he's invited over to the coach's house, the oldest daughter says, do we have to say grace since we're eating with Jesus? Thank you, Jim. Do we have to say grace since we're eating with Jesus? And maybe that's sort of where we get tripped up. It's like, oh yeah, this is a great concept, a great theory. There's one power, there's one presence, it's all God, it's all good. And so no matter where we turn, it's all God. What's there for me to do? Do I even need to pray anymore? What do I need to do? It's all God. Well, here's the thing. When we talk about there's one power and one presence, there's a huge difference between this concept becoming a direct experience, and even beyond a direct experience of what we call God, to awakening to this presence as us. God as us, through us, in all things. We begin to do this by making ourselves available to this one power and one presence. I read an article not long ago of a neurosurgeon who's one of the leaders in his field. And in this article, the reporter was asking him about his success and everything that he was doing and had managed to accomplish, which was quite amazing how this individual accomplished so much in any given day, and especially in the life of his career thus far. And the reporter said, "To what do you attribute your incredible success?" And the neurosurgeon replied, "The first hour of every day." And the reporter said, "Well, what do you mean, the first hour of every day?" The neuro said, "I spend the first hour of every day in silence, in contemplation, in simply making myself available and connecting with he said, the great physician, the universal physician." And the reporter said, "How in the world, as busy as you are, how can you afford an hour a day? How can you afford to take that much time?" And the neurosurgeon said, "How can I afford not to?" He said, "There's no way in the world I could accomplish what I do if it not for that 1 hour a day." Again, back to Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity. His wife experienced a profound healing from tuberculosis. She was at near-death stages of her life and heard something which sort of clicked in her head and led to her working with her own body, her own beliefs, her own thoughts to experience an undeniable, remarkable healing. Now, this man that lived with her had obviously witnessed this, knew that his wife had a belief in something and something was truly changing in her life, and he wanted to understand more about it, but he was he just dealt in concept and theory, and it was hard for him to understand. And so he started reading literature from all over the world, every sacred text, and the more he read, the more confused he got. Anybody else? So finally, his famous quote is, "In all of this babble, I'm going directly to headquarters." And what he did, he got his rocking chair and he put it in a certain place, and he said, "All right, every night of my life, for 1 solid hour, I am going to just sit. Because if all there is God, then this that is should reveal itself to me. If I can get out of my own way," did you hear that? "If I can get out of my own way, it should reveal itself to me." So he did exactly that. He began to sit in his chair every night for 1 hour, really without an expectation, simply making himself available, becoming empty. Now for him, what began to happen is he began to have vivid dreams. And he tells the story of, at that particular time, he was dealing in real estate. And so what began to happen, he would have a dream, and in his dream he would see a piece of property. And he would see a sign that said sold. So after his dream, the next day he got up and went to this piece of property. He was interested in a piece of property and happened to go out, and lo and behold, here he's standing seeing what he saw in his dream. Except the property didn't have a sold sign in it, so he knew, hello, maybe I should buy this property. And for Charles Fillmore, things started happening for him like that. He would dream something, and then it would be a clue, a piece. Have any of you had a dream like that? Yeah, look around, a number of you. That gives you a real piece of something that you need. Well, he realized, and through that, he also experienced a literal physical healing as well.